Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So this time it's gonna be about another beginner army. We're talking about Infernal Dwarfs this time. As you can see, I have my screen open on New Recruit. This is a software that helps you build a list for all kinds of armies for the 9th Age. So you can create a list for any of the armies that are available in the game with a cost limit, and then you can just take any of the choices available. It's very flexible in the terms of options that you can select for the different units. You can, well, upgrade them as you like, and then you can build a list like that. Just to show you the army, I'll just go to the overview. So the army that we have today is an Infernal Dwarf army. These are quite elite troops, so you need a bit less than for the other armies sometimes. We're gonna have a Prophet General who's a Wizard Master. We'll have a Vizier with a BSB. They have a couple of items to help you out in some respects, but I'm not going to go into that too much. We have two big blocks, or well, relatively big blocks for Infernal Warriors, and then we have 2 units of Kadim Incarnates as your non-scoring chaff removal tools, mostly just some small combat units to help you out. We have a Titan Mortar because it's quite an iconic unit for the Infernal Dwarfs, and the Kadim Titan as well. So Kadim Titan at 3000 points is quite an investment with 500 points. But it's quite an iconic piece, I find, in the army, and there's a lot of people that play Infernal Dwarfs that will play it once you start to get in the tournament scene, basically. So how do you manage to get this together for about 150 euros? Well, right now there's actually something going on at Titanforge. So Titanforge is a company that also makes miniatures, and generally they have prices like 13 euros per model, per character model. So they're quite, well, they're not that expensive, but that is just a normal price for character models, basically. Right now they have a 70% discount on a lot of stuff. This likely is going to last still for quite some time, according to this clock here. So maybe it's just up till the stock that they have. But then again, it presents itself as quite a nice opportunity to get started with Infernal Dwarfs, because you have this model that can be your BSB, so with a flag with some flames on it, and it's quite cool. We have a guy for your Vizier General, so this guy is in the middle of casting his spells. We also have some other, they have more models for this to further extend your army also. But I'm just gonna talk about the models that I think are suited for the army we're discussing now. So for the standard warriors, we have the Dread Guards, either with the paired weapons, I think. They probably have some weapon options, but they look quite badass. And they also have a 2-handed version, so this would be your great weapon option. I think they look quite cool. They have a bit of a quirkiness, of course, but well, that is true for any miniature normally. So, well, if you like them, then €7.50 gets you 10 of them. So basically, for the army that we were looking at, for the Prophet and the Vizier, we're going to spend about €3 each, and then we need a total of, well, you can just get 50 of the warriors in total, needing 5 packs, so that's 37.50. At this point, in the list, we've spent a bit more than 40 euros so far, so we still have 110 euros for the rest. And then we can continue with the Chosen that they have. So these are larger base models. I would field them as the Kadim Incarnates. You can also instead decide to field them as the Dragon Ogre option in Infernal Dwarfs. The name has slipped my mind right now, but they also have that. Depending on the base that you put them on, they can be different things in your army. I think they're quite a cool option for Kadim Incarnates, though. For the list that we are building, you would need 6 of them, so you need 3 packs of 2 because they only contain 2. So the only downside is that you'll only have 2 sculpts of these guys, but then again, these are quite gorgeous models. So that will spend another 20 euros of our total budget, so we're at 60 something. For the cheap option, you would go for the Ancient Forge that they have as your Titan Mortar. It's not really a mortar, however, fluff-wise, you can just explain it that it's going to hit the anvil very heart and then stuff happens on the board. You could also go for another alternative. It's not that difficult to find a war machine, a general war machine, and you will have the models from the extra Dreadguard models that you will have available to you. So basically that is where the range of Titanforge stops for the dwarves. They still have some berserker dwarves. They still have some other stuff, some characters as well, but they don't have any very good value big stuff. They do have this Hillhammer dwarf magma dragon, so you could go for that one as your Kadim Titan. However, you can also just go for something else, because this one is still 102 euros, which as a beginner is quite an investment, of course. So later you might want to go for stuff like that, but you can also go for something like an Ornithopter as your Kadim Titan. However, the model will not fly, so it's a bit more tricky what to do there, and I don't know honestly the scale of this one. So alternatively for the Kadim Titan, you can go to Mierce Miniatures. Mierce has also from time to time some discounts, and right now they also have a discount. So on the website, it's mierceminiatures.com. You can see that here they have a 2-for-1 on monsters and a 40% off on monsters. So there's a mix of monsters that are still great value when they're just at the 100% price point. But just getting the discount is obviously also quite nice. This model could be an option for your Kadim Titan. Otherwise you have something like this guy, who everything here is pro painted, so you should keep in mind that if you order this, it's just going to be unpainted, and my paint jobs generally look a bit less impressive than the ones of Mierce, but this is definitely a cool model that you could also buy. Alternatively, I found this guy, which I think is also a quite cool Kadim Titan. He's a bit more bestial than the others. And of course you can also just go for a brass bull that invigorates the army also in its own charm. For the more Games Workshop fanboys, we also have the Auric Runefather on Magma Dwarf. This will put you a little bit above the 150 price mark, however you don't really need the character that we got as the profit. So in the end I think you will just barely fit in the 150 euro budget with this one. It's obviously also quite a cool model, but I'll leave that up to you. And for the cheaper budget we can also go for the Magmic Invocations set for Age of Sigmar. So this is a set of spells that you can use. And there is a model in here that you could use as your Kadim Titan. I would say that it might be a bit on the small side. I don't actually know the scale of this one. It's a very cool model to look at. However, as I say, I don't really know the scale. I think these other things are quite small in there. But looking at the size of the skull, this is not going to be a very big model. But well, then again, you could field it on the base is going to be a bit bigger than this even. But you can field it on the base, and as a beginner I would be perfectly fine with you playing this model on a bigger base. And also as an experienced person, I don't really care. As long as it looks cool, and it does look cool. Now, what is quite difficult for beginners is also to get a grasp of how your army plays without having the models. There's this software called Warhall. I've also advocated it during the other videos that I did on beginner armies so far, but I'm going to talk about it once again. So Warhall is a free-to-use software to play your games online. You can load any army in there, so if I want to put some demons on the table now, I can just select a more, I can make it, and then there's a more on the table. It's quite easy to use, so you can just rotate stuff, you can look at different distances with your units, you can move them freely, you can do anything you want, you can put wounds on them. And then you can also get an impression of how your army scales to the rest of the table. So this Infernal Dwarf army is actually quite small. But then again, Infernal Dwarfs, you're focusing on quite elite units generally with the army. And that is what you see on the battlefield. You get less board space filled with the army. Here you have your Vizier, awesome looking dwarf. You have your Prophet, who is also awesome looking. Titan Mortar, the Kadeems on the sides and the big Kadeem in the back. And then you have the Infernal Dwarf Warriors. So the list itself, you have the 2 scoring units of Infernal Warriors, so you'll likely be deploying. It's going to be that if your deployment zone is going to be over here, I can also just quickly put a rule around to just indicate a little bit where your deployment could be. So something like this. Probably in this scenario you could, for example, say, I'm going to stick to the ruins here with my 2 scoring units. Bunker up a little bit. You don't really want to give the opponent your an entrance to the side of your army, so normally what you would probably do is that you have your Kadeem to hold off the center a bit, the Kadeem Incarnates here as a counter charge tool, and then these ones can play around on this side a bit, whilst I'll just put Flapter in, whilst your Prophet can just magic away in the front line basically, together with your Vizier in either the same unit or the other unit. But yeah, this would be your general board state. So the Titan Mortar is there to provide the ranged pressure together with the offensive magic of your Prophet, and then the rest, they're just quite combat capable troops. And I think you can have a lot of fun with this army. It's also quite a good basis for further expanding Infernal Dwarfs, because you will always, well, nearly always need the warriors. You will very likely include the Titan Mortar. A unit of Kadeem Incarnates is always useful to have, and the Kadeem Titan is, as I said, quite a iconic piece for the Infernal Dwarfs. I don't know that much tactics of Infernal Dwarfs, so I'm not going to talk about that too much. But that's it. So yeah, beginner army once again for less than 150 euros. Thankfully this time through Titanforge. Check them out, and Mierce Miniatures is also a place to go. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you the next time.